So I wanted to take a look back at the Texans to see how they've fallen out of what was they were a year ago today. They were a young team looking on the up and up, coming off, a tough loss. But they had a Super Bowl window, and it was time to capitalize on it. So I wanted to look back and to see how they somehow managed to tear this whole thing down and just start over with basically nothing. So let's imagine that for a few seconds, you're a Texans fan. It's your early first quarter in divisional game against the Chiefs. You're up 24-0. You have a massive lead. You know Patrick Mahomes is looking at you on the other side of the field, but you're still confident. You know you're going to win this game. You're up 24-0. You're going to go to the AFC Championship, where you'll take on your division foes in the Tennessee Titans for a chance to go to the Super Bowl in Miami. And then they just kind of let Kansas City walk all over them. The game went from 24-0 to 28-24 in just a matter of one quarter. And that was only the beginning for some Texans fans. Now, I know that there's there's a lot more places to start this, but I wanted to kind of just, in my eyes, this is where this starts, truly. But you go into the off season and free agency starts, and you're looking to see if you can bring in some big names. You don't have a ton of cap room, but you want to see what'll happen. And all of a sudden, this tweet comes out from this guy named Adam Schefter that says that the Texans have traded DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals for David Johnson, a second-round pick, and a fourth-round pick. Now, usually when you see a trade this bizarre, you immediately just assume it's a burner account. But then you look and there's that blue check mark. So the question remains, is this real? And it is. Bill O'Brien decided that DeAndre Hopkins had the same amount of value as David Johnson, a second and a fourth-round pick. The best wide receiver in the NFL, debatably so. In my eyes, he is. And then, well, maybe this helps clear up cap space. Maybe they're trying to bring in a massive free agent. No. They signed a guy named Bradley Roby, who's he's an above average cornerback. He's solid, And they signed Randall Cobb to a $9 million per year deal, which so yeah, it didn't go great. And they don't even have a first round. You don't even have a first round pick going into the draft. You spent that acquiring Laramie Tunsil to be your left tackle and Kenny Stills to run routes for your dude Deshaun Watson. So you go into the draft and you're hoping maybe you can just get the next superstar. And you draft Ross Blacklock with their second round pick, who had an absolutely amazing season this year with a total of 14 tackles. Yeah, it's not great. So you're going into the season, but you're going into the 2020 season. You know you've only gotten worse, but you still think this team maybe isn't in the Super Bowl window. If they have something to build on, maybe they can win the division. They'll probably make the playoffs. And then you start off the year with a tough game at Kansas City, and you lose. But you expected to lose that one. And then you go to Baltimore, and you lose again. Once again by multiple scores. That was also expected. And then you go to Pittsburgh, and you lose by 3. But Pittsburgh's looking good so far. It's okay. It's 3-0. But, we need to get out of the slump. Play Minnesota next. They're also a pretty tough football team. But we think we can beat them. And then you lose 31-23. Now, at this point, The only way to keep any trust with the players was to fire Bill O'Brien. There were reports that he'd lost the locker room. J.J. Watt had cursed him out, or something like that. Maybe not that. Don't quote me on that, but I believe there's a report saying something similar to that. And they fired him, and Romeo Cornell stepped up to be the interim head coach. Now, I like Romeo Cornell. He was the coach of my favorite team for a few years. Probably one of the suckiest few years, but we love him to death. But he should not be a head coach in the National Football League, even as an interim head coach. And they end up winning their first game, albeit against Jacksonville. Watson looks good. Johnson runs for almost 100 yards. And then the next week, they go to Tennessee. Now, they're 1-4. They're playing a tough divisional team. They've got the Packers next, and then they have a bye week. If they can just win one of these two games, they have something to build off of. They take Tennessee to overtime and lose. But it's all right. They still got Green Bay, and then they lose 35-20. Then they have a bye week. Then they beat Jacksonville, lose to Cleveland. They actually beat New England, beat Detroit, and then lost 5 straight to end the year, including a heartbreaking loss in Week 17 to the Tennessee Titans. A game they really should have won against the Bengals, who didn't even have Joe Burrow. A 36-27 beating from the Bears. This was a tough season. And it was becoming more and more clear that this team had somehow, in the span of less than a year at this point, gone from being in Super Bowl contention to one of the worst teams in the National Football League. And then just a few days after the season ends, or a few weeks actually, J.J. Watt, one of the debatably the biggest player or the best player in Texans history, and the Texans organization decided to part ways. Now, this was obviously going to happen. I think everyone could see it. But also, Deshaun Watson had just a few days earlier demanded a trade. Will Fuller's going into free agency. So now they have who? Laramie Tunsil. You've got one guy that would fit in a good core. One guy that you could call a core player. One. They've ruined this team. And it's sad to see. Because I was rooting for the Texans. I liked them a lot. They were a fun team. And then they just tore themselves down for just no apparent reason. Deshaun Watson wants out. I don't blame him. It's sad to see how badly they've torn this team down. I don't think it all rested on the hands of Bill O'Brien. Obviously, as part of it, that the DeAndre Hopkins trade was not ideal in any way, but at the end of the day, some of this has to come back to ownership, and it's just sad to see that such poor leadership at the top of an organization can ruin it all the way down to the bottom. Thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I think I'm going to try and be doing more videos like this on my second channel. Mostly posting this today because I have a few videos I'm trying to upload, but my editing software is being a bit weird. I got rid of my watermark finally, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. And bye.